Okay, so as I mentioned in the previous video, in this video I'm going to start looking at these questions about cats and dogs. So again, real groundbreaking stuff here, but I do think that this will be sufficient for you to be able to work with your own data later on. Okay, so the first question that we're being asked here is, do more people dislike, like, or love dogs, and do more people dislike, like, or love cats? So there are a couple ways we can do this. First of all, we can just look at dogs, we can just look at cats, or we can look at both at the same time. And you might want to do both. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to set up a little table again within our existing table to look at how many people dislike, like, and love dogs, and how many people dislike, like, and love cats. And from there, we can very easily create several graphs based on this data. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, we're looking at dislike, like, and love, and we're looking at dogs, and we're looking at cats. Okay, so again, we're going to use the Countif command. Obviously, you're probably starting to notice that it is a very popular command, especially when we're dealing with data with things like love and like and agree and disagree. This is when you really have to use this command. So this equals Countif, and this is the dislike dogs. So we go to the dog column, and we highlight the section. So Countif, you're in this column, and you, in quotes, dislike. And this will give us the number of people that dislike dogs. Now again, I want to use this column for everything across here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the C's in place. And what that will do is allow me to click and drag over. And you'll see the numbers are the same. And that's because the formula, which you can see here, is dislike. And now what I can do now is I move over, and I'm just going to replace dislike with like. Looks like it's 7 again. And now I'm going to replace dislike with love. And we can see that 7 people dislike, 7 people like, and 6 people love dogs. And again, to double check that everything's correct, we sum up and we see that our total is 20, which is good. That means everything is okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to count if. We move on to the next column, and we want to know if people in this column dislike cats. I copy it over, and you can see this is defaulted to 0. What did I forget to do? I forgot to put in the dollar signs. So I come back to my formula here. I put in my dollar signs. Now I drag it over. I go back in, and this is the like cats, so change it to like, and change this to love. Okay, so 767, and what I can do here is I can just drag this down because I'm still looking for the total, and now it will tell me the sum of those. And again, if I go up to this one and I click on the formula, it shows me the sum of those. So I know that I've done everything correctly. Now to get back to our questions, do more people dislike, like, or love dogs? Well, quite simply, we highlight all of this just like this, insert, graph, and there we go. So here is our dislike, like, and love dogs graph. Maybe you want to see a pie graph instead because that would break it up for us a little bit nicer. So I highlight the same thing, and there it is. There's a fairly even split between them. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is I can go over here and I can actually change the data if I want. Now, please don't do this with your own data, but if I change this dislike to love, watch down here, you can see that those values change. So let's change this dislike to like, because really, who doesn't like dogs? Change this one as well. And you can see that there's been some pretty radical changes here. And I've only done that so that when we make the pie graph again, you can see the change, right? We now have very few people disliking dogs. And again, we can change this graph to a different type. We can make it a bar graph and look at it that way. And there it is. Now, if we want to do cats, the issue you're going to run into is that these labels are far away from this data. So what you're going to do is you're going to highlight this. That's going to be your labels. And you hold the control button and highlight this row as well. So you can see I've highlighted these 2 rows and skipped over dogs. And with the pie graph, there we have a pie graph of people and their opinions about cats. And here we have the bar graph. So you might want to know, you might want to compare them both at the same time. So if you want to do that, you can highlight all of it together. And now we can insert another bar graph and you can see, well, here we go. So blue is dogs, orange is cats. We can see that a lot more people dislike cats than dislike dogs. A lot more people like dogs than like cats. And there's an even split between loving dogs and loving cats. So isn't that nice? And what's interesting again is I can come back here and I can say, all right, I can change any value in here that I want. So let's say that this female, this 16-year-old female, said that they dislike dogs and love cats. And we're going to say, well, actually, I'm pretty sure you dislike dogs. I dislike cats. And I'm going to change it and watch the graph. So you can see that change, right? And if I undo it, you can see it change back. So again, you shouldn't do that once you've collected data. You should leave the data the way it is. Don't fake anything. But I just wanted to show you that these things work in real time. Okay, so that's how you can compare two variables at one time. So let's go back to our questions. Do more people dislike, like, or love dogs? So we did both of these. Now we could say, do more males dislike, like, or love dogs? Do more males dislike, like, or love cats, females, etc.? So what happens now is we have to start combining things. So this is where we use the Countifs command, and that has an S on the end. So again, we're going to set things up. And this is going to be a little more difficult. So first, let me just think about this for a moment. Okay, so I'm going to start with males. So males, and we're going to look at dislike, like, and love, dogs, and cats. So this is the Countifs command. I'm probably not going to do this for every single one because I just want you to get the basic idea. So for us to do this, we're going to say equals Countifs. Again, we're going to be looking at two things here. So first, we're going to count if they're a male. So we highlight this, comma, quotes, male, and then comma, and now we're going to go to the dogs column. So they're a male and they dislike dogs. So this shows us that two males dislike dogs. Now we're going to go up to the formula here. What we're going to do is we're going to lock in the rows, or the columns, pardon me, because now we can drag this over and we can just go back and change it. So we want to know in this column how many males like dogs, and in this column we want to know how many males love dogs. So there we go. So if we add these up, we get 10, and we know we do have 10 males, so that makes sense. We're going to do the same thing here. Countifs with an S. Again, we're looking at males. This time we're looking at cats, and we're interested, oh, pardon me, I forgot to put in the condition. So if they're a male and cats, they dislike. So 4 males dislike cats. And what we can do is drag this over again. The zeros came up because, of course, we forgot to lock things in. So you lock in those columns, because otherwise, as you move over, the data that your formula is looking at will move over as well. So you can see right now, it's looking in this column for age, and it's seeing how many, it's trying to see male, but there's no males in there, and then it's seeing dislike in an empty column. So obviously that's not going to work. So I have now locked this in, I drag it over, and I go back, like, and in this column I want to know how many males love cats. So 424, so there's my totals. So now what we can do is we can take a look. We can't do a circle graph because we're comparing a couple of variables. So now we can look and we can see in terms of disliking, more males dislike cats than dislike dogs, and more males love dogs than love cats, and more males like dogs than like cats. So that's our male data. We could do the same thing with the female data, and then we could also compare them. So obviously you can see that there is a whole lot that you can do with a very, very basic data set. So we could then compare males and females in terms of liking, loving, and disliking dogs. So there's a whole lot of things that you can do, comparing multiple data sets using the Countifs command, etc. So really there's no limit to the comparisons that you can make. And I encourage you to take a minute now and to actually go in and use this spreadsheet, as hopefully you've been doing the entire time. And what I want you to do is I want you to make a graph comparing males and females in terms of their dislike, like, and love of, for example, dogs. So you're going to have to set up a table just like I did here. And then what you're going to do, so instead of males, it's going to be feelings about dogs, and down here, males and females. And you can use the Countifs command. So please try that.